Smith, Coach Smith's wife, recommended I see somebody immediately after the tragedy. And I met with a guy a couple times, and I just did not feel comfortable. I'm 20 years old. I didn't feel comfortable speaking with somebody I didn't know. And my teammates, being on the court with them, having to bang and sweat and run lines, the gut checks, that was my therapy. So it's interesting that you found the same sort of help on the floor as well. When I wasn't drafted, I told you I wrote down everybody's name. I had a chip on my shoulder for at least 2 years. It wasn't even after I'd made the team. It was 2 years later, after we won the second championship, that I just finally realized that from as far as I started, from sitting the bench 3-4 games in a row sometimes, not even coming out of my sweatsuit as a rookie, to playing, the entire fourth quarter when we were 15 down to win our second championship, the greatest comeback in the history of the NBA Finals, and I played all 12 minutes. And we cut it to 3. Then they brought MJ back, and he took over. Let's keep it real. But
yeah.
He scored 12 of our last 19 points. But
you were part of the group.
But we cut it to 3. The bench bunch, man. We were doing our thing out there. So, I got to play all the minutes. I had an epiphany after that game. Like, I can play in this league as long as I want. From where I started, with a bad shoulder, not getting playing time, used to dislocate in training camp, and I didn't want anybody to know, and I'd try to slip it back in without letting the coaching staff know, and they throw me, when I was on the sideline, and so much times my teammates would cover for me, and they knew it came out, they'd sub in for me real quick, like, Williams, get on out of your tank. So I always appreciate it. They were like my brothers. Still good for contact with a lot of those dudes today. But to think about, having to sneak, we practiced at a health club back then, right? The league was different. We practiced at a health club, and we'd go 2-a-days during training camp. And between the first session and the second session, they'd open up the floor to the health club floor. They'd open it up to the doctors and the dentists and the lawyers. And the Bulls wouldn't let me practice with the team. So I used to have to sneak in between their sessions and get a sweat. I'd play the point like Magic Johnson, who I idolized growing up. I'd be directing people, making passes and shooting from the perimeter just so I could get a run and keep my time and keep my vision. And then to making that comeback, that to me was like the best feeling in the world. It was an epiphany. Like, I just thought that now I can play as long as I want. And I went on to play 15 years, and to always think, well, you're going to win 3 championships. Hey, I'm going to win a lot more. But your role changes. I took on that role you talk about, Danny, putting up thoughts of the day, bringing in little inspirational quotes, getting guys to work together. I remember my time in Phoenix, Marbury and Hardaway, they were fighting us whose team was it going to be, right?
Yeah.
Trying
to you being the glue guy,
together, realize that. Try to get these cats to play together, Danny, and realize, like, hey, the better the team does, the bigger the spotlight for all of us. So we were supposed to finish like 28th in the league. We ended up making the playoffs and took the Spurs, who were number 1. We stole the first game, then stole the third game, and then they stepped on our throats after that. But it was a good time. So you take on this role of what those guys like Paxson and Cartwright and Jordan were to me as a rookie and a second-year player. You try to help some of the younger cats that are still trying to figure it out.
For sure. And so I think we both were fortunate to be at an organization or an institution like University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, having said you having Dean Smith and me having Coach Williams, knowing that they were going to push us in the right direction and push us the way we needed to be pushed to become grown men, or the men that we were supposed to be. And I always heard from, everybody around me, when you're a kid, you don't really understand it. They tell you, like, the reason why he's on you is because he cares. If he didn't care, then he probably wouldn't be on you. So I think he was on me the most because he knew I could take it mentally, but he knew what I could potentially be. And I think that's the reason why Coach Smith was on you. He knew that he was preparing you for the world. And that's why he was probably on you more than the average or the rest of the guys on the team, and knew that you needed it more than everybody else. But, Coach Williams definitely prepared me for it. And then Pop as well. Very challenging. And they knew, you had to play with that chip in your shoulder. You're not that talented enough to be, that guy, and to not play like, your job is at risk every day. So playing for Coach Williams and playing for Pop definitely had me said you don't get a chance to really have an epiphany or reminisce as much until your job is done. So it's like you're constantly looking over your shoulder, who's trying to get my job, and you might have won too, but you didn't realize what you accomplished until it's already happened. You're like, oh man, I just played in the finals, you get a chance to let it soak in, because you're so worried about looking forward to the next thing and to keeping your job. For me, I said I don't get a chance. I try not to reminisce as much because I don't want to be satisfied. And it's one of my favorite thoughts of the day, that Coach Williams put up is you can tell when someone's natural forward progression has come to a cease is when they become satisfied type situation. So I try to make sure that I was never satisfied at what I've accomplished and continue to strive for more. And, there's times you can reminisce here and there, but I try not to reminisce too much. But they definitely pushed me in the right direction, playing for Coach Williams and Pop, and I'm sure Coach Smith for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, I had Coach Williams for 2 years. I had Coach Guthridge that took over. I helped recruit Hubert Davis to North Carolina, the head coach now. So I feel like if you go all the way back to the 60s, all the way to the present day, 23, I got a connection to that whole lineage of coaches and the knowledge that you get from guys like that. You had Pop in the league. I had Phil Jackson. And I didn't always appreciate Phil Jackson at the time because I was low man on the totem pole. So I ain't gonna yell at Jordan, right? He's gonna come down as a little undrafted rookie, and I'm catching hell after playing 6-8 minutes. Like, what are you yelling at me for? You knew he wanted to push you, to keep you hungry in practice, keep you motivated. Like I said, I had my list, and I wasn't gonna stop playing until I had played longer than everybody on that list. And that kept me going. That kept me hungry. I played like I was on non-guaranteed contracts. That's what I played on for my first 4 years. So even after I signed my big deal in Philly, an 8-year contract, a long-term deal, not a big deal, small money.
They used to have them 8-year contract. Wow.
But I signed the last 8-year deal in the history of the NBA, Danny. They say, "Oh hell no, we ain't doing no more of that." They outlawed it for everybody. They said we ain't getting burned like that again. But I played longer than everybody on that list except for one cat. You can probably guess who it is. From the 1990 draft cast. The only Hall of Famer from the draft cast goes by the name The Glove.
Oh wow, Gary Payton, one of my
GP.
He was a good one though.
He kept playing year after year. I'm like, damn.
But 15 is a long time, man. So you do 4 years of college, 15 years of league.
I finally, my back, my knees, everything was shot. I was like, okay, I got to give it up.
You definitely earned being an author. You'll be able to tell a lot of stories throughout all those years. But I said I got to give a big shout out to the people. Said during the times that we went through our rough stages at Chapel Hill, my brothers there and my brothers said in San Antonio were a big part of it. And I want to take the time to shout out Eric Montross as he's going through his cancer treatments, and a lot of what we have brought to him, the Carolina family, to uplift him, keep his spirits, great and bright, has helped him, through this time. So it was a big comfort. That was another blanket for us, having those guys around me during that time to be able to keep me, sane and keep me happy, keep my spirits lifted. And also during San Antonio times when I had some rough patches, people don't realize how much that impacts you. Your employees, the people you work with on a day-to-day basis, and how it can impact you in a positive light or a negative light. If you hate your workspace or you hate your job, it's going to affect your whole life and your whole lifestyle. So being able to wake up every day and be a part of something with my brothers made it a lot easier, and able to kind of not think about the bad things and the bad times. So that's what I love about Carolina the most: the family, the brotherhood, and the blanket they provide for us when things are rough.
Well said, Danny. I'm glad you mentioned that about Eric, because he was a teammate of mine for a short period of time in Philadelphia before they traded me out of there. But what a great dude, great family man, wonderful in the community. So I second what you said. And then if anybody wants to try to send something to E, a card, a well wish, you can get them at the Rams Club, 450 Skipper Bowles Drive, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So you can find him there and send him some well wishes.